This is our plant. We call him Stavros. 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 This candle. How about that? It's got Greek designs on it. My apartment is Greek themed. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the fact that older people than you given certain conditions are unimaginably, unfathomably wise, smart. And the certain conditions are basically like this feedback loop that happens around a certain age, I think, if conditions are right, where you start to realize that you can actually basically learn anything you put your mind to as long as you have consistent discipline. And you can sink into understanding things day by day. And I think, I guess you could call that self-actualization, self-realization or something, where the factors that could potentially cloud your learning and cloud your ability to grow and understand things deeper have been resolved or at least minimized to a degree that they don't really get in your way. So like your emotional problems are resolved, you're able to just be functional, continue to work and like be productive and happy and inspired, and really believe in the value of your work and the value of what you're learning. And if that happens, if those conditions are met, which for a good amount of people they are, for a good amount they also aren't, that realization moment where that feedback loop starts of like real serious learning, I learn so much every day now that I can sense like the people who are 40 years down the road from me who have had those similar realizations have kind of deepened their intuition and understanding of the world to a degree that it's like it's tuned to a degree, especially for their specific discipline, but I think just in general, if they've read a lot of books and they just understand the human condition in our world better. But I think that degree to which they understand things, the nuance to which they understand things is like just mind-blowing. It's hard to even comprehend. And that's just based on like my outlook on the world from like what it was, I don't know, 6 to 12 months ago. And the interesting thing is like, it's not that, it's like wisdom, and it doesn't give you superpowers exactly. Like, it's not like these people who are older than you, like an older professor is a great example. They're not like, they don't have the ability to change anything about their reality. They're not like that, I guess. But they have like an outlook on the world that's just been shaped by reading so many things and thinking about so many things, and like that continuous feedback loop that their outlook is like, I feel like young people have this hubris and this problem, and I have this, and I know I have it, but it's still hard to overlook, where it's hard for me to comprehend the brilliance of people older than me, except under certain specific conditions where I can see it and I can see, wow, this person is really, they have a good vantage on the world. They see a lot of what's going on, a lot of how things work. And I'm trying to figure out what makes those conditions line up right, because when that happens, it's very useful because you can kind of trust and assimilate the information they give you a little bit more effectively. And that's good and bad. Sometimes you like take in things that aren't coherent with your worldview, and there's kind of a little bit of a scuffle for things to settle, I would say. But yeah, it's hard to comprehend. Just keep that in mind. Like someone older than you who's had that actualization learning loop, professors, almost all have probably had this actualization learning loop. Their ways of looking at the world are really, really, it's hard to imagine how wise they even are. And yeah, it's funny because I swing between believing that and believing, this is what I can tell is like the hubris of being 20, believing that and believing like, nah, they're just normal people. And like anything, the truth like kind of lies somewhere in between. Like, yes, I think they are sometimes just kind of normal people, but also, No, I think it's weird. It's like a tough window to keep open, honestly. Like recognizing that some professor or some piece of research or some book is like the most brilliant thing you've ever read, and being like, that's just like kind of a normal day-to-day observation, and I'm smarter. And I think young people have this tendency to just think that. And I talked to a mentor I had about that, and he said, there's like an Oscar Wilde quote. I'm like not young enough to believe something. Fuck, I should really not misquote like that, but there's a certain kind of belief that comes with youth that you know more than you do, or that other people know less than they know. And it's interesting. It's like it's a belief that these older people are so much wiser at certain things, that I try to keep open, and I try to keep intellectually, but it's tough to actually keep that as a realization moment to moment. I have to keep reminding myself of it. There's a Naval Ravikant quote I really like that's like, wisdom is knowledge that you have to keep reminding yourself of over and over again. There's lots of things that I know are true, and in certain moments I'm like, oh my god, that proverb is true. That describes reality so well. And then the next moment I'm like, that's just a proverb. That's just something people say. Because your circumstances in life moment to moment will change, and sometimes certain pieces of information will feel like revelatory and true, and then at other moments they'll feel just like mundane pieces of information that don't really mean much. That's the best way I can describe it. But yeah, it's a skill, I guess, to just keep those pieces of information like churning over and over again in your mind, and reminding yourself, yes, I believe that. So yeah, if you've got a professor, another couple of things I wanted to go over actually with regard to people that are very wise and mentor characters. If you're looking for a mentor figure, professors are perfect for that. That's basically the biggest asset you can get at school, is access to someone with a professor's mind, PhD mind. Not all PhDs are perfect. I think there are some that are a little bit, I don't know, they kind of egoed their way to it and are kind of tough characters, but people that don't have a big ego and have this self-actualization loop are mind-blowingly brilliant, and brilliant in subtle ways. And yeah, it treats school as well as like a supplement that you bounce off with your personal projects. And if your personal projects kind of are in and around and relate to what you're learning in school, that's great. And then you can go and talk to professors about your personal projects. And also professors, think about it like this. They're quite a bit like you. If you're ambitious and you have personal projects and you take school and learning seriously, they'll see a young kid and they'll really be reminded of themselves. And they've gone through many of the same things you've probably gone through with learning how to learn, and learning discipline and understanding your emotions and all the metacognitive nonsense. And they've probably gone through many of the phases that you've gone through, and so they can help you out a lot. They can recognize kind of patterns that they've fallen into before. So professors are absolutely a great asset. I feel like I'm very lucky to have been raised by a professor, and yeah, it's just like having someone with that much nuance in their understanding of the world, kind of shaping your formation as a child, is probably a big asset. That's probably why someone asked, actually, this guy called the Jacked Nerd, or the Buff Nerd. He has a YouTube channel. I'll probably collaborate with him down the road, so you can see it. But he asked me, and a couple other people asked me, how come you're like so articulate? Which I never really noticed that I'm particularly more articulate than other people, but I guess I am. And I think it's because probably my dad, my mom too, but also just like read to me a lot and understood the value that language has in shaping the way you think. And so just introduced me to a lot of words and made sure I was well versed in that stuff. But yeah, people are unimaginably more brilliant, and their understandings of the world are unimaginably more nuanced than you can possibly imagine. Yeah, redundant there, but... Okay, wait, I had a bit of a theory as to why it's sometimes hard to comprehend the sheer wisdom of adults, certain adults. And it's because we lack empathy. Or we lack, yeah, I guess it's empathy. It's, well, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, the ability to see from their experience. I was just thinking, like, a lot of the smart people I respect suggest that you read foundational text in economics. And one of my mentors sent me a bunch of books, and one of them was like just this canon of economics textbook, like 700 pages of like raw, dry economics. And I think of what other people know from the perspective of what I know. Like I kind of, my model of predicting other people's behavior is flawed in that it assumes other people know what I know. And it's difficult to imagine people knowing things that you don't know because you don't know those things yourself. But if you can get better at imagining what it would be like if you knew those things that you didn't know, you can have a little bit more empathy. So, like imagining this mentor character, he understands economics from this like 700-page textbook. He understands comprehensively how the markets and stuff work, and that's part of his worldview. He understands all the granular details of that stuff. And he's not an economist, he's like a programmer. And like that's, my knowledge of economics is rudimentary at best. I know like supply and demand conceptually. And I've read a couple economics books, but nothing like a textbook like that. And it's just hard to even comprehend like what your worldview would be like if you had that. And I think in general, it's just a difficult and meta skill to be able to look at someone and make estimates about like, okay, what is their worldview like because they've read XYZ or because they have XYZ degree. And probably that's another one of those things where like with age, just like by the fact that I'm thinking about this stuff and I realize this stuff, other people that are similar to me had these same realizations and thoughts like 10 years ago. And by like that compounding process of age and knowledge, those people, yeah, they have got to have just like off the charts empathy and all kinds of nonsensical abilities that we can't even comprehend, but are like very everyday and normal and blend into things. And that's just part of being an adult. And it's not super exciting, but also like it is pretty fucking awesome.